Welcome to episode 14 of our series on the surnames of Appalachia and the American South. As you know, there are thousands of surnames in these regions. So, to make our task more manageable, we're focusing on pre-Civil War surnames. That's because the Industrial Revolution in the late 1800s introduced thousands more surnames across the fruited plains, including certain parts of Appalachia and the coastal South. As always, each of the family names we'll examine today was requested by members in our YouTube community. Please note that I discuss surnames in the order that I received them. In case you missed the previous video, I'll post a link to it in the description. At the end of the show, I will run a catalog of the surnames that have been featured on each of the episodes thus far, except for the most recent episode. So, please stay tuned for that information. With that said, today on The Vantage Point, we'll be taking a look at the origins and meanings of 9 more common and not so common Appalachian and Southern surnames. I hope you'll join me. Let's get started. Number 1, Suttles. According to Henry Harrison, Suttles is a West Yorkshire surname of English or Anglo-French and Latin derivation. Its English meaning was assigned to one who dwelled on the South Hill. The Anglo-French Latin version was applied to a person who was clever, subtle, and cunning. In either case, we find the surname taking root in England. It's not common in Ireland, Scotland, or Wales. I think we're safe in calling Suttles an English surname. Number 2, Perkins. I imagine the TV personality Piers Morgan might be surprised to learn that his first name was a basis for a diminutive alternative for Peter. In this case, we find the origin of the English surname Perkins. Like Suttles, Perkins is not common in Ireland, Scotland, or Wales. Appalachia and the American South were attractive places for English folks with the Perkins surname. Number 3, Lamb. Doesn't the surname Lamb sound meek and humble? It was an Old Norse nickname for one who was gentle. However, in Ireland, quite a few members of the adopted the surname Lamb. What's especially interesting and perhaps illogical about those Irish lambs is that their Gaelic name means hound and warrior. In Scotland, George Fraser Black agrees that the surname, which is found in the Lowland records as early as 1288, is of Old Norse origin. People with Lamb surnames are found in various Scottish records in diverse places, Aberdeen, Edinburgh, and even Dumfries down the southwest. Lamb is not found among the more common names in Wales. It looks like the surname Lamb in America could have originated with immigrants from England, Ireland, or Scotland. Number 4, Davis. It's not surprising that MacLeisic calls Davis a Welsh name. It means a son of, through Davies. It's the 85th most common surname in Wales, and not surprisingly, Harrison doesn't mention it in his pro-English book on United Kingdom surnames. In Ulster, there are Welsh Davises and Scottish Davises. The Scottish version is a sept of Clan Davidson. In Appalachia and the American South, one will find both lines of descent. I once knew a lady who was a Davis from Mississippi. She was the wife of a Presbyterian minister. The pastor wasn't of Scottish descent, but they were extremely active in Clan Davidson, which was her clan. It was this couple that sparked my interest in studying in Scotland. Number 5, Galahar. When I was a kid, the neighbors of my mom's sister were Galahars. They were well respected in the community, so I was happy to get this request. Galahar is an anglicized version of the Gaelic name. It meant foreign help. The family originated in County Donegal, which is in Ulster, but it is part of the Republic of Ireland. While Galahar was the 14th most common surname across Ireland in 1890, only Smith and Dougherty outnumber it in Ulster now. 2/3 of the folks in Ulster with this surname reside in County Donegal. Black agrees with the origin and meaning of Galahar in Scotland while pointing out that it's a recent introduction into Scotland. As the title of my book, In Search of Ulster Scotsland, suggests, there was and continues to be a trans-Irish Sea community, but I would not call Galahar a Scots-Irish surname in Appalachia. It's either an Ulster or Irish surname. Number 6, Philpott. Wow, this name has special meaning for me and my family. When I was born, my mom labored away at Philpott's Laundry in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. My mom and her sister Ruthabelle worked for years in laundries. My aunt eventually owned one. They worked hard and in not so favorable conditions. It was routinely over 100 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity in their workplaces. Thanks, Mom and Ruthabel. I love both of you. At any rate, Philpott is a common French surname. It's a French diminutive of Philip. Of course, Philip is a biblical name, so it has a long history, but it was in France that the surname Philpott took shape. The presence of Philpott in the Scottish records in 1496 suggests to me that the name entered England and Scotland with the Normans. I'm not sure if any of the 17th century Huguenots were named Philpott. At any rate, Philpott is not among the more common surnames in Wales or Ireland. Even though it's found in medieval Scottish records, it doesn't appear to have been common in the Bonnie Land at any time. I think we're safe in calling Philpott an Anglo-French surname. Number 7, Graves. I have several neighbors here in Powell Valley with the surname Graves, so I better get this one right. On the surface of the origin of their surname, it's kind of frightening, if you know what I mean. After doing some digging into Graves, I found out that there are multiple origins for the surname, but none is connected to an eternal resting place for our mortal remains. Nope. In England, it was used to identify one who lived near a grove of trees, or with the help of the French-speaking Normans, it took on the added meaning of solemn, sedate, and demure. Graves has been found in Ireland since the 16th century. Members of the family were connected to Dublin University during its history, which began in the 19th century. Graves is not found among the more common surnames in Wales or Scotland. In America, it's either an Anglo-Irish or English origin. Number 8, Pishon. It seems Pishon is straight from France. It's not found in any of the major surname books that cover the United Kingdom, Ireland, or Scotland. Pishon appears to be an occupational surname for a potter who specialized in making little pots. Being a Latin-based name, Pishon is also found in Spanish. In Spain, it's a term of endearment, but based on historical migration patterns, it's doubtful that our version of the surname came from Spain. I think we're safe in saying that Pishon is a French surname. Number 9, Ramsay. Being a descendant of a Ramsay myself, it's exciting for me to dig into this long-established Southern Appalachian and Southern surname. While Ramsay was originally an Old Norse and Old English surname, it became established in both England and Scotland, and to a much lesser extent, Wales and Ireland. As Robert Bell points out, there are some Ramsays in the Dublin area, but most of the folks carrying this family name reside in Ulster and can be of English or Scottish origin. Ramsay is derived from Rams Island or Waterside. There was a Ramsay estate in Essex and one in Huntingdon, England. Bell claims that Scottish Ramsays descend from the Huntingdon Ramsay, who was granted lands in Lothian by Scottish King David I in the 12th century. Within 100 years, members of the Ramsay family were also landowners in Scotland's Angus. MacLeisic labels Ramsay in Ireland a Scottish name. There is truly a Scottish origin for one branch of the Scottish Ramsay families. It was adopted by some members of Clan MacGregor. That view seems to contradict Bell, but he may have been referring to the few Ramsays around Dublin. I really don't know for sure, but I think we can be safe in calling Ramsay an Anglo-Scottish or Scots-Irish surname. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you got something meaningful out of our discussion. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I invite you to check out all the videos on the Vantage Point. As long as demand warrants it, I'll be back with another episode on the surnames of Appalachia and the American South. I hope to see you then. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.